Hello. This is a short lecture on American political parties. Usually, students at some point in the semester, often rather early in the semester, become curious about political parties, and it may be because they think of themselves as a Republican or Democrat, or hear other students who express that about themselves, and they wonder, well, where does this fit into citizenship? Where does this fit into American government? And so let's talk a few minutes about American political parties and what they do. What they most obviously do is recruit candidates for elections, try to win elections, and then to the degree that the parties stand for ideas and policies, try to put those into effect. We're usually most conscious of American political parties during election time, and that's when people begin to express their party identity. They wear buttons or put out yard signs or plaster bumper stickers to their cars, although most people don't do that. The majority of American adults still, when asked, will say that they're a Republican or a Democrat, though a very large proportion will express that they are independents. And really, that's only one of a couple of ways to figure out a person's political identity. You don't have too many other options because the parties don't ask people to pay dues. We don't carry around ID cards that say what we are. So belonging to a political party, on the one hand, is more or less a state of mind. Now, I would argue there's another better way of deciding whether a person's a Republican or Democrat. Even some of those people who will say, well, I'm an independent, I believe it could be argued are Republicans or Democrats, and that is if you can determine how they voted, wouldn't you say that if a person in the last 5 presidential elections 4 times, for example, had voted for a Republican or a Democrat, that would be pretty good evidence that they lean towards, at least, being a Republican or a Democrat. So party identity definitely is related to elections, and the political parties themselves are very interested in identifying who their members are because those are the people they want to get out and vote on Election Day. So the parties are interested in recruiting membership, and as far as individuals are concerned, feeling as though you are allied with a political party helps you make decisions on Election Day. So let's ask ourselves this question. How do you come to identify with a political party? Well, unsurprisingly, like a lot of other things, people are first introduced to political identity through their family, and people are more likely to identify with their parents' political party than another political party. That's one way that people acquire a political identity. I guess you could say that it's not too different than choosing between a couple of brands. A family always drives a Ford, and therefore you grow up thinking that Fords are a superior product, for example, or Colgate or Crest. For a lot of people, political parties are a kind of brand, though they usually feel more passionately about politics because they are related to ideas than they do about their toothpaste. I think it's safe to say that a lot of people want to simplify decisions and prefer to see things in black or white. And so one thing that political parties do, especially in a two-party system, is sort of set up a group of good guys and a group of bad guys. And when you're making choices, if you don't have a lot of information about the candidates, if you know that they're a Republican or a Democrat, and you believe that one party is better than the other, that helps you make a choice for an election. And I keep mentioning two parties. The United States, unlike most other democracies, has a history of two parties. It goes all the way back to the debate over ratification for the Constitution, a battle that we'll be talking about later in the semester between the Federalists and the Anti-Federalists. Those parties actually became our first two political parties, the Federalist Party and the Democratic Republican Party, which later dropped the Republican after the hyphen and actually became the Democratic Party that we still recognize today. Why haven't there been third parties or fourth parties or multiple parties in the United States? Well, political scientists agree that it has an awful lot to do with the way that our congressional districts are set up. Our representation in Congress, in the U.S. Congress, is set up so that we choose one person from our district to represent us. So when there's an election, there's a winner, and then everyone else is a loser. There's no advantage to finishing second or third or fourth or fifth. In other words, coming close but losing has no advantage at all. So consequently, the race often shapes up between two candidates, and one will be the winner and one will be the loser. And that practice has reinforced the two-party system. We'll also be talking later about how the two parties together have created systems which reinforce the two-party system and make it hard for a third group or an independent to crack into the monopoly. But let's just suffice it to say right now that we have a long history of two-party politics. And one of the advantages of that political scientists often express is that the two parties never get too extreme in their ideas. Since they're so devoted to winning elections, they never stray too far from the middle of public opinion. And in a presidential election, for example, the two presidential candidates will be fighting over the middle, the independents, the people who see some virtue to compromise between perhaps the two positions that the parties stand for. Now, this doesn't mean that third parties don't occasionally make a strong showing in American politics or even win elections. Third parties oftentimes will grow out of a political movement, a new idea. For example, in 1992, a third-party candidate named Ross Perot, who conveniently was a billionaire who could afford to make himself known and make his ideas known to the American public and compete against George H.W. Bush and Bill Clinton, strongly advocated an idea. His idea concerned balancing the budget and the importance of that to the economy. Well, after the 1992 election, basically what happened is both Republicans and Democrats sort of stole the idea. Since it worked for Perot pretty well, they sort of absorbed the idea, left Perot more or less without an issue, and the next time that he expressed an interest in running, the American people weren't behind him as they were the first time. And of course, that will be an effect on third politics too. Sometimes a very charismatic figure, a popular person will emerge. But if they quit running for office, oftentimes the third party movement pretty much disappears. And so the major parties absorb them. So to summarize, in American politics, we have a two-party system. Many people identify themselves as Republicans or Democrats, but aren't particularly active in their political parties except during elections. The party system helps to recruit candidates and run candidates for office, and the party process helps people make choices for candidates. And so whether or not our elected figures are Republicans or Democrats, and they nearly all are one or the other,
it does have a role to play in popular sovereignty. Thanks for listening.